Actually, I forgot what episode it is. Let me think. Was it episode? I'll cut this out. I gotta see.
This
What
is
was last
episode
week's?
1. This is
This
the
is very
spin-off.
bad.
Episode 1
This
of the
is
spin-off.
a fitting start.
Yeah.
Episode
It's probably
26.
Wow.
Maybe I'll just leave that in. Episode 26 of the Precious Metal Gents podcast. I'm Zan here with not Brian, but Andy. Thank you for joining me. Yeah, I know. Sitting in the driver or sitting in the passenger seat, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm honored to be a guest here, guest hosting it. Big shoes to fill. Can't fill his shoes for sure. But I promise the one thing I do in life that is very good is disappoint. So I promise that I'll be very disappointing. Ask my parents, ask my former teachers.
Yeah, don't listen to your parents. They're just
ask my ex-girlfriends. All I do in life is disappoint. So I promise that I will deliver on that front. Okay.
Do you want to turn this into a therapy session? We can just do that. If you want.
I mean, I feel like half our conversations are always a mix of cards or therapy, right? You know?
Yeah,
I mean, why
pretty
not?
much. That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Brian pulled his hamstring, if you're wondering. That's why he's out on last week's episode. He's gone to the medical tent. I think they're going to have to do an MRI, but it's not looking good. So this is like when the dad's away, the kids are trying to, or it's like the patients. It's the inmates running the asylum, basically, is what this is.
We got a hold of this. We got a hold of these mics, dude. You know, like no, I think Packers Niners this weekend. So we'll see how that goes.
Big game. He's probably getting ready for that.
Well,
we do have
we
do have a little bit of an outline here, but this is going to be a little bit free form to some degree. It's did you get anything in the mail this week? Like we do mail day first. Did you? I mean, you and I are both selling a lot. You could pick up anything at all, even anything small. Or are you pretty much selling only?
Well, I mean, I think right now it's kind of just like you. It's in a pretty strong state of massive consolidation. Though mine are a couple more bigger pieces than maybe smaller or whatever. But I'm always kind of still trying to buy, right? Because I have a lot of different sort of chases. Like, I did get a couple cards from this absolute loser of a guy who I basically fleeced these off them, and they were these 97 rubies right here, Curtis Martin and Ben Coates, absolutely stunning cards. The guy who sold it to me is an absolute idiot. I don't know what he was thinking with this.
Okay, do you want to tell how about? Yeah, that's a great image.
So I got
tell
these
people how much you paid. Yeah, tell how much people, and then I'll tell them how much I got them for, and then you will see.
It's on Card Ladder. Everyone knows.
Yeah.
No, I got these from Zan, and I truly appreciate these. Anybody who knows me knows how much I love 97 rubies. I am trying to I am trying to chase down the Hall of Fame set of it, which is 39 cards. As of now, there's some fringe guys that maybe get in down the road. So hedge your bets. I do have like a Tiki Barber, though he wasn't a semifinalist this year. And then also I have a Ricky Waters, and I still think Simeon Rice should one day get into. But then I also bought, so I did buy, there was one that flashed on eBay, made an offer. I got an Andre Reed one.
Oh, nice.
Forgotten, amazing receiver. And then Joey Galloway as well. And that's kind of just like that's not a Hall of Fame guy or anything like that, but just like for me, a memorable guy, right? And I think he was very good, right? And he was very memorable during that time period. And, I think just kind of worthy in the collection of that set.
Right.
But other than that, it's like little stuff, right? I know we have a question later on in the outline, and I can kind of get into that. My younger brother, Justin's kind of getting into it a little bit more again. He collected as a kid and whatnot, but all my stuff sort of rubbing off on him. So we're starting to do some little side pieces of like Steve Nash, a little bit, which has been kind of interesting and whatnot. But then also a fun one. He's a big Raiders fan, and so we're doing a Janikowski PC,
Oh, hell
which
yeah.
which has been which has been absolutely revealing to scour these checklists. I mean, we talk,
Oh,
we have
man.
a nickname for people that collect it all. Like when you're collecting a kicker, you cannot, you have to be a card gobbler, because it's so limited
Yeah.
in terms of what there is, right? They're not really in any of the big sets or anything like that. And Janikowski was a pretty big kicker star, right? So if anybody's going to have sort of cards, and we're only collecting playing day stuff, you got to look through like score and tops through those years and stuff like that and see what it is. I did bring out a couple of them. This is like the Leaf Certified 2000 Mirror Red. He has a Mirror Gold out
Wow.
of it's like 35 copies, but beautiful card, and then this is like he's got the like a Bowman's Best refractor. This is like the acetate one out of 250. The back looks like that or whatever it is. Kind of cool, And then like here's a showcase first one. I don't know out of 250, but
Oh,
backwards
nice.
cap, booting it. But it's really, yeah, it's been interesting, to see kind of like because I'm always looking at it from such a different lens, and to really dive into such a random player. The checklist has been kind of fun, right? And also the cards are an absolute fraction of the cost of what we do, mostly. So that's been kind of fun. But other than that, really kind of just like not like a lot of huge purchases. So I'm sure that's where probably you're at, right?
Yeah, same. So I want to ask you about the rubies because I just counted. You've got 29 posted on your page. You've got four there. And then you pasted Barry today. Obviously, there's probably one more you got to post. So that's what, 30, 34 basically. How many do you have left for the Hall of Famer set?
Yeah. So I think I have.
Or I guess all the players you want.
Yeah. So I think I have 38 total rubies. I did buy that Orlando Pace, right? So that's off at
Right.
PSA, so that's going to get graded, right? And so as of that, 20, I think I have 27 of the 39. You know,
Oh, wow.
and I've done some heavy lifting. I've paid a pretty penny with it, too. But I've done the heavy lifting in terms of some of the biggest names. But probably some of that final stretch is going to be more difficult. I mean, I also, I'm the biggest pumper against myself on this stuff right now. I've been driving this market almost single handedly. It seems like, right? So that hurts. But I think I'm at the point though with it too. I'm going to be a little bit more patient than I was at first with it, and also because I mean some of this stuff just I can't find it, right? And that's what the thing with the 97 rubies for football. I don't know. They just seem to be like really scarce, right?
Yeah.
And then some of the bigger ones left over, like your Reggie Whites and your Ray Lewis. I mean, those are going to be almost impossible. We'll have to pry those from a few people, and that may be really difficult to do, so I'm not like at this, the pedal, my foot was on the gas a little bit, but it's easing sort of back in control here, because I'm pretty satisfied so far with what I got, and I can sort of take my time, and even if that means years, right? Like that's okay too, so
Yeah.
yeah.
You've got that. The tough thing is like you've got all the biggest names, which is great because that's going to be where the costliest ones are. But now, like you were showing me the list of them, some of those
Yeah.
guys, like when we look at the sale, like none of like Willie Roth, like he doesn't have any sales of that card. Like some of these
None,
guys are going to
right?
be very tough. Yeah.
Like Kevin, have you seen a
Um,
Kevin Green?
no, no, I haven't seen that one.
Right, right. Me neither.
Another
I haven't
tough
seen
one.
it yet. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
some of
some
them
of
just
those.
don't have any sales.
Yeah. So I think that will be the tricky part of it, but that's okay. That's part of that's what keeps you engaged, and
Yeah.
moving forward is those longer chases, right? And again, like I think right now, I just patience is fine, and there's other stuff that has to take priorities with the collection and your own finances and different things like that. So I think I'm that's where I'm at, sort of with it. And then same with like even like baseball, sort of kind of moving out, like some of the big players more of just like moving into like the couple sets that I really like, your 24 KTs and your rubies, and being satisfied with that versus maybe having to have PMGs and some other rare stuff with those guys, right? So I think that's sort of the lane I'm getting a little bit more set driven with some of those guys than side PCs.
Yeah, for sure. So I know this is coming out on Friday, but tonight is the Fanatics Collect Premier auction ending, and one of the big cards you've got ending is the Griffey 98 PMG.
Yeah.
I mean, how difficult was that? Well, I guess how difficult was that to part with? Probably know the answer to that, and why was that something that you felt like now was a good time to put up for auction?
Yeah, I think I mean, obviously that it's painful to sell it. It's an expensive card, and it's also just hard to find, right? Because it's so cherished and as it should be. Um, when you're consolidating, and the price tag on what you're consolidating into requires a lot of juice to squeeze. You have to make tough decisions, and really for the most part, if you have some considerable side PCs of guys that command top prices, you know, maybe that's where that should be. I mean, that's your first look, right? As much as it's painful to sort of part ways with it, there's if it's for the greater good of your collection and the greater good for your true core guys, then it's worth it, right? The card hadn't sold in over a year, right? I felt like it was a good time to probably capitalize on that as well, but it still hurts.
Yeah.
you know
When you've been consolidating, like, because you and I both been selling a lot, if there been any that and maybe the answer is no, but if there been any that you've sold that you thought would be hard to let go of, but now that you've sold them, you're like, it wasn't that bad, or it's not a card I want even want to get back.
Yeah, I think I've talked to you about this too before. I think once I've decided, like, even almost the notion of selling the card, it
Hmm.
does really enter my mind. Like I'm at peace with, not at full peace with it, but like I'm just like it probably now needs to go on the block, right? It's already moved into that timeout corner, and like it's just like my feelings have already sort of changed now for it, right? Because like I can't believe that even popped in my mind, right? The love I had for the card might have shifted there, right? But I haven't really sold anything, I would say, that would be that hard to get back, right? Like if I want to buy a Griffey PMG again one day, I think I can have that opportunity. Now, just whatever the cost is obviously the cost. But in terms of its like scarcity, or I mean,
Yeah.
there's definitely avenues to find that card, right? If there's one-on-one stuff that you're selling, that gets a little bit more tricky, I guess. I
Yeah,
struggled
I
though,
think you're right.
yeah, but like I told you too offline, it was I sometimes struggle more with selling the lower end guys,
Hmm.
just because I really love having that representation of so many players in my collection that once they leave, they kind of leave, and then I have to get them back, which you could probably get them back, but they're there now, right? And they also don't, you have to sell maybe 30, 40 of those cards to get the price that
Yeah.
one Griffey can get, right? And those 30, 40 cards will continue to bring me such great joy that I have them still, that I could be okay with the pain of losing the Griffey.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think sometimes, typically we go for quality, but sometimes the quantity is important because when I'm doing this consolidation, I was looking at had to get rid of most of my Patriots team sets, but like I was looking at the 98 and 99 platinum medallions. Those are big team sets. I'm fairly close. I like the sets, and I was like, collectively, all these cards might be like 700-800 bucks. It's such a
Yeah.
it's such like a drop in the pond that it doesn't really make sense to
No,
to get rid of them. It's almost like, and that was kind of my thinking for like the Favre 24 karat. That's the one that's been hard to let go of and hope to get back sometime. But I also was like, well, if I could keep 4 to 6 cards, other really nice cards that I like instead, and give up the Favre, I might I might do that. It's kind of like the Griffey analysis where it's like you
yeah,
need, if you're financing a big purchase, you kind of have to have something that makes up a big chunk of it. You know.
I agree. I agree, and it's painful. Yeah, 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 and yeah, the Favre. Yeah, that would be tough. Yeah, I get it.
And the another one that you had going tonight, that Rice 101 Shield. Why is, I mean, like, I know I'm not a big patch guy, but why is that like a significant card other than it being a shield? Does he have a lot of them, or is that just one of the few?
Yeah, no, no, and I think that's one thing. In terms of when it comes to shields or logo man, everyone thinks that everyone's got you know 50, 70 of them, right, or whatever it is. But with like
Yeah,
Jerry Rice, I believe Jerry only has three game worn shields, right? And if you think about that, I mean that's absolutely wild, right? Montana has, I think, one, right? Or something like that. So, um, for me, I loved having it in the collection a lot. I felt the significance of that. I love the old shield too, right? Like it's just so cool. Um, but like I'm not a big jersey patch auto guy, and that's just from an aesthetic point of view and just own personal sort of preference. And it made sense because I think the juice was there to squeeze it. That it probably doesn't belong in my collection for Jerry Rice, and that's okay. Um, so yeah, gotta go.
gotta go. Another one we that's ending tonight is the Nomo Credentials Now, which is out of 12. And I believe that was something that was funded by Fund Your Cards not that long ago, because I believe it's the 12 out of 12. Thing's almost at 20 grand, which, I mean, I know Nomo cards go wild, but man, those nows, of those low number nows, are just so tough to find in any of the three sports, really. I mean, jeez,
Oh,
you'll never see a
I
Rice or
Yeah,
Bonds.
no, I mean, like that market has now become, yeah, I mean, that's what's so scary to me is just like because some of the most there's two coveted cards I would want, and
Right.
you see what Marino goes for, and then you'll see what Nomo goes for, and you got all and it's just that market's just, at least for now, it's going to be a very high price tag if something like that ever came to the table, or obviously bonds or you've got, I wonder what your like Pedro would do, right? Up to, right? But yeah, Nomo, I can't. Nomo's like I feel like he comes in waves when he's selling. Like sometimes he goes for astronomical numbers, and then
Hmm.
sometimes I don't know, it's flat, right? Um,
Yeah.
and I don't really know why. I've seen that though. You've seen that, right?
Yeah, I think sometimes, I mean, this one may have, I mean, all the big ones are the big sets, This one
Of course.
maybe has as much to do with the set as um, the player. I mean, I know Nomo sells really well, but I remember the chipper out of 6 went for about 31, and that was a couple years ago, which it would do a
That's
lot
right.
more now, I think,
That's right. Yeah.
probably closer to 50 grand now. So, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one to watch. You said Pedro, I think you meant Vlad out of 2, but You knew
Oh,
that.
sorry, flat attitude. Sorry.
No, yeah,
Yeah. Well, yeah, and the other thing is like you've got it, like you mentioned too, like a couple Jerry Rices, they got the '98 PMG going,
yeah.
and they've got that,
In the future.
yep, yep, and the future going. Curious to see where those sort of go as well. Um, you talked about that Randy Moss sale.
Oh yeah, last night that. So there was a Randy Moss sale. His rookie rubies out of 35. Those are all miscut. This one was actually interestingly a min size requirement. They listed it on eBay as raw, and they showed the label that it was min size, and it still went for $7,661. So big sale there. I mean, I like to see it because it makes me happy that people are buying it. I mean, it's a little dinged up. It's got a print line. People are buying the card, and they don't
Yeah,
care that it's men's size. It's
I agree.
it's an authentic copy, and this is. I mean, to me, if I, I, 24 karat is a great card. Um, Other than that, this to me is the kind of the Grail Moss card, and that's coming from the position of Grail rookie, I should say. Other than not the future, but if you're looking at like the 98 now, 98 PMG, this and the 24 karat to me, mainly because it's the pro uniform thing, and even on the 98 future out of 6, he's in training camp gear. Don't get me wrong, I'd rather
Hmm.
have that, but this is a great card. I mean, is this you and I don't really own much Moss, but if you were to kind of get one or two big Moss cards, would this be one of the ones that you would consider?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is such a beautiful card. I mean, look, it's also numbered to 35. That's why you're right. I mean, I'm very happy to see. Who cares if it was men's size, miscut, or whatever? Just the ability to own
Mm-hmm.
that is pretty special. I think the imagery is fantastic. I'm a big fan of in the Vikings uni and stuff like that too. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think in general Moss cards are like cheap compared to what I think you should sell for. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I think I saw like I the one I used to own a '99 Moss Rubies. I forget what that
Okay.
sold
Yeah.
for. It sold for like I don't even, which is a great card. It's a horizontal. It sold for 3,600 in March, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's that seems pretty cheap to me, right? For one of the Moss main rubies, right, from that run.
Mm-hmm.
I have a 99. The only Moss card I have is a 99 credentials now out of 50, right, in a BGS 9. Um, I saw let me see, a PSA 9 copy last night. What did that sell for?
I
Yeah,
didn't see that.
a PS9 copy sell for 3,800. I mean,
Mm.
I don't know. It's a nice looking
It's pretty
card
good.
too, but um, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's either the 24 KT, right, or it's that rubies. If you needed one Moss card to satisfy that itch, if you are a multiplayer collection and you're sort of trying to tell the whole story or whatever. But I think it's a no brainer. But that's a great sale, and I think it's a positive to see that people are buying the card regardless of the grade or any issues with it, right? I mean
Yeah.
that's. I mean, I'm mainly driven by that too, right? Yeah.
2 nights ago, the 99 Moss PMG PSA 7 sold for 7,100. It's funny. My buddy had one of those. I think it was the BGS 85 that who owns that now?
Hmm.
Black Hat, I think, owns it. That couldn't pay someone to take it for $3,000 a year ago, and now it's a seven. What if you had $7,600? Let's say, are you buying the rubies men's size raw for 7,600, or are you buying this Moss PMG 99 PMG PSA 7 for 7,100? What are you
That's
taking
a
of
tough.
those?
I mean, that 99 is a beautiful card too. You know,
It's great. Yeah.
uh, yeah, it's stunning. I think the rubies is a more important card for
Me
Moss.
too.
Uh, so
Yeah.
so and even more low numbered. Um, I'm probably taking the rubies min size. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's a rookie. It checks all the boxes, right? I mean, even though again, I think 7,100 for the Moss PMG is, I don't know, it feels cheap to me relative to, like, I feel like he should be in that just a little bit more leg down than what, like, Rice and Sanders, and you know when's the
Yeah, I
last time we've
agree.
seen him? When's the last, like, I feel like that should be like a more 9 or 10K card, right?
Yeah.
When's the last time we've seen a Manning 99 PMG sell?
I think it was a buy it now for 4,000. I think that's the one Austin Carlson got for. It was a bin. I think it was $4,000. I mean, the Rice SGC 8, I think, went for 10,000 in August, but that's an SGC copy. I mean, if that's a PSA copy, that's probably closer to 15. And then you're
Yeah.
looking at almost like 2x Moss there. So yeah, I think that ratio is a little bit off. But people seem to be coming around on Moss. His stuff seems to be getting more and more popular. So that's an interesting one. All right, let's tackle a couple listener questions. We had two. Um, this one's not really a '90s question, but I think we can relate our what we've kind of come to learn from '90s to this question. So this is from Pale Cards, PALE Cards 312. He said, recent years of Topps baseball have really brought inserts back into focus, but they all seem to have multiple parallels. And I think this is true of Panini too. Do you think this hurts the collectability of modern inserts? Even if a base insert is a case hit, does it get overshadowed by the green out of 99 or the red out of 5? And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, you and I have both done some modern kabooms, right? They have the gold and the green. Downtowns have the gold and the gold vinyl. And so there's every modern insert seems to have some kind of parallels. What's your take on that? Do you have any opinion, maybe using what we know now, like looking back at the '90s? What do we think is going to survive from these modern inserts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just because of just the way the sets are generated now, that it's always just some sort of subset of each card, right? It's just like, here's the
Yeah.
card. Now here's this X and this Y and this C, right? And so I think it really waters down the sort of the luster of the card in general for me. I would love it to just be just an insert, right? That's just high odds to pull or something like that, right?
Hmm.
Or one insert number, whatever it is. But yeah, I think, like, I just, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of so many parallels to these things. Those things are not going to survive the test of time, anyways. In terms of collectability, right? And I guess value
Hmm.
wise, if you want to look at it like that, right? But like, from collectability, I think, especially if you look at, like, anything like a prism, right? I think, your golds and your 101s are just going to be like supreme, right? Like,
Hmm.
any camo red versions, green versions, and all that stuff, I think are going to be nothing. Um, um, yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because like there's something in that when we're looking at '90s stuff, a lot of the allure is the infrequency with which you see the card, right? Like people will say, "Oh, I've never seen that," or "I don't see that much." And sort of like like look at the bonds '90s market lately. Like we've been hit with it too. Like there's been too many copies of those cards selling, so it loses some of that enigmatic quality. So when you've got 1,000 parallels of an insert, and you can always go online or on eBay, I guess, and find some parallel of that insert, whether it's the base or if there's 4 or 5 different ones. I mean, I just don't see that it's going to have much draw. It's just going to be too many copies. People are going to have that sort of marketplace confusion of well, which one's better? I mean, is this going to be like the gold out of 10 is better than the green out of 5 thing, which is to me, kind of arbitrary. But I just, and inserts anyway. I mean, look at it. We just 90s inserts are not a huge thing. I mean, there are some good ones. Basketball maybe it's different. Baseball, football, we've got some good ones. Like there's Playmakers Theater in football, really nice looking, the molten metal titanium fusion. But for the most part, inserts are not a huge draw in the 90s space. I don't think.
No, I think it's a nice entry into collecting a player or players, right? Just because of just the price point entry into it, right? I think that's a great way to start easing into it, right? And some of those inserts are absolutely beautiful too, right? Yeah, and then with some of that stuff, it just all comes down to like condition. It becomes basically vintage in a way, just because there's so many of them, right? So.
Yeah.
So that's what drives that market, right? Which is, I don't know, it's not my type of market, when it's just grade dependent, right, on its value, or too much grade dependent on its worth, right, and its merits, right? So, that's, So, I'm with you. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, collecting modern stuff is tough. I don't know. I don't know how people
It is, yeah. I mean, it's just without the competition and the excessive prime round. I like Drake. We'll ask a question from him in a second, but he has like one of the things I always go back to. He said a long time ago, which is, I think this is actually on the Sports Card Therapist podcast, RIP. He said something to the effect of like, I think they were talking about maybe wrestling cards or something like that, and he was like, it's rare by grade, but it's not a rare card. You know what I mean? Like this random base card. It's rare by its grade because there's 5 10s or whatever, but it's not a rare card. And so that's what I think about with the moderns. Like when you start differentiating just because of grade, to me that seems like okay, that's a ticking time bomb. Because there's going to be people are going to continue to grade these modern cards, and then there's just going to be too many of them. We're just shitting on modern tonight.
And like it's different than vintage, even though that's what makes it difficult for me to get into vintage, just because of just the print run of the thing, mainly because of time, right? And when those things were produced. And so like, the condition of those, are drastically different because of the time period and how long it's been since they were produced versus how they're made today too, right? In terms of material quality, right? So I can understand why grading for that is definitely more sensitive and everything, but that's what also keeps me, eye appeal is still very subjective. I mean, people will tell you that they've got the greatest eye appeal, and it's like, I guess I'll believe you, right? Just like the grader. Yeah. I guess if you say so, right? Like, got great eye appeal. It's like who's better? The person with the greatest eye appeal is just better at selling you that they have the greatest eye appeal, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I struggle. I love looking at vintage cards, but in terms of getting into it from a financial and a collectible standpoint, I find it very, very challenging for myself. Yeah.
When you get into the nuances of someone just trying to sell you that, wow, this 60-40 centering is so much better than this 65-35. If I have to get my ruler out, I don't really want the card,
Yeah. Speaking of that,
all right.
I'm curious to see what that Ruth sells for tonight. It's already at what, $1.2 million?
Oh God, I didn't even. I don't think I added that to my watch list. Is it a 33 Gaudi? Is that what it is?
You didn't
What
even
card
add
is
it to
it?
your. It's
Is
like
it
the
a
biggest card in
modern
the
gold
auction,
prism?
and it's because yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's anything pre 96 or whatever. It doesn't even make your radar.
No, I don't bother.
Yeah, it's
Is
it's
it a
it's that
33
30.
Gaudi? Oh yeah, it
Yeah,
is a
it is.
33 Gaudi.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
it's
is.
8.5. Damn. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
1.2
So
mil.
that's
Jeez.
yeah. So
You gonna throw a
that's
bid
good.
on that?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe if I get a couple Hendrickson and soda in me, man. Just like that's usually when mistakes happen.
Did you see this Magic the Gathering, the beta Black Lotus? That's a pretty nice one.
Man,
You
I
should do it
just
for that.
every 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 day, every week, I just someone's got to educate me on that market. I mean, uh, it's just wild what those things go for. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my hat's off, but just hardcore collectors, or there's something else going on in the background that I'm not aware of, or something. But boy, talk about prices for those things.
I know. Well, this one's autographed, so maybe that's the reason why. It's just a picture of a flower, but beautiful, beautiful, nice little illustration.
Love it.
All right, let me see what Drake says. Drake says, this is a good one. What advice do you have for staying engaged in the hobby when it's been months since a card you need for your player PC has popped up and you don't want to start a side PC for fear that a card for your main PC becomes available and then you're not in a good position to make a move on it? So is it better to become a little bit less engaged while saving your cash, or do you stay more engaged acquiring side PCs but be less liquid? What's the answer? I mean, there's a ton of answers here,
There
but
is no way.
what do you think? We're kind of going
I
through this because we're in the sales. So, like, what's your best advice here
mean,
for trying to stay
Well,
engaged?
with most everything in this hobby, there's no right or wrong answers to any of this, right? This is just opinions but like either option is totally fine, right? Like people have to be okay with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of staying engaged in the hobby, I mean, for instance, like myself, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still buying some decently expensive car from you and other people or whatever it is, um, but those are just because those opportunities came up. But really, kind of like for me, I'm kind of doing these side PC stuff, right? With
Mm-hmm.
Janikowski and Steve Nash, and I'm not really diving into PMG Steve Nash either, or anything like that,
Right.
or it's 50 you can get for Nash, you can get these like later year plat medallions, $50 raw. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that's beautiful, right? And it's like, especially for like a guy like me, because I'm from the Bay Area and he went to Santa Clara University and all that stuff too, so there's that tie and whatnot. But I think just don't get over anxious and just buy, just because you feel the need that you need to, right? Because it sounds like there's a goal in mind here. And I think patience is always kind of the way to go with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also just pull out your cards and look at your cards on a daily basis, right? I mean, I think
Yeah.
enjoying what you got. I'm really settling into what I got right now. I'm feeling really comfortable with where I'm at, right? So in terms of like really seeking like uh bigger cards of even some of the side, like I'm kind of not there for it. Like I'm kind of just like really enjoying where I'm at with things too, right? Which is nice, right? It slows things down. It makes you really appreciate the cards you have more. It gives you more time to be educated on what cards are out there, to look at other people's collection, right? And like, it's still
Mm-hmm.
okay to scour eBay. Don't do it drunk and fire off a bunch of purchases when you're doing it. But like, I think,
Yeah,
I
you
think,
can. It's okay to do that.
yeah, I know. Trust me, it's my favorite thing. But like, I think it's okay to like not do anything when it comes to buying, right? And I think if you
Mm-hmm.
really just start like enjoying it and looking at things and whatnot, I think, I don't know, that's a good place to be. I feel like I'm in that spot now. I feel like I've spent more time scouring other people's collections that I've had in a month or two, right? So um, be engaged that way,
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I've had to. I mean, because I've been selling so much. You hate selling on your own. I mean, you're just like, take it, auction house, just do it for me. But I'm having to
Yeah.
do I'm trying to do the grind, trying to do the flipper grind. But like, I'm so not used to selling cards. This is an interesting challenge because you and I buy. We typically buy, we collect, we try to get good private deals. This is the opposite of that, where I'm trying to figure out how to, I'm trying to figure out how do these guys do this like regularly. It's so stressful to try to just constantly sell. But the
Totally.
exercise, I mean, I'm not saying like if you need to stay engaged, sell stuff, but if you're thinking about maybe challenging yourself, selling cards to figure out how much you actually like the cards is an interesting exercise because if you have 10 cards and you think you don't want to sell any of them or you can't let go of them, I guarantee that if you force yourself to sell, I don't know, 6, 7 of them because you need the money or whatever, there's going to be at least a few of those that you're like, okay, this was actually easier to let go of than I thought. Another thing is, like you said, the Nash is a great example. Janikowski, you could find just a small, cheaper set to put the insert set, 10 to 15 cards. I mean, um, obscure player PC, Brandon Lloyd. I don't know why he just came to mind, or somebody like that, where um, you could just kind of get their cards for cheap and put something together in a binder or whatever it is. Because I think, I don't think you need to like detach to save the cash. I mean, there's a way to do it in a judicious way. Side PCs, I mean, yeah, you don't necessarily need to go open up an expensive side PC, but there's going to come a time like if you're constantly narrowing your list for a player PC and the types of cards that you want are just getting, they're all now at a 25, or those just don't come up often, and so you kind of have to pivot at some point. We've both encountered that where I'm like, I've got these 6, 7 cards on this list, but who knows when the next one's going to come up. And don't just stack it away and wait for a rainy day. I mean, you might as well enjoy it in the process, and then you kind of figure it out if one of those comes available. So yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to stay engaged, even if it's collection management. Like, you just started putting stuff on Card Ladder, right? Do the
Yeah.
showcase. I mean, that's kind of an inventorying. It's a different type of way to stay in touch with your collection. It's not buying, right?
Yeah, there's a very OCD thing about collecting in general, right? And that stems to, you're right, inventorying and how you sort of shape it on the back end too, right? Which is kind of
Mm-hmm,
fun,
mm-hmm.
and sharing it in a neatly presented way to the world so they can enjoy it too. You're right. It really like the reason I don't like try to almost sell it privately, like when I'm trying to sell cards or whatever, is because like there's a good chance that like if I don't maybe get a number, I'll probably just want to keep the card, right? So like
Yeah.
it's almost like a rip off the band-aid, send it to auction, let the market dictate it, which that's another thing I do like like mainly because so many of these deals happen privately and the data for the overall market is not as informed, right? If you're not doing a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
deals privately or don't know the right people or maybe you don't know about them, right? So I'm not saying I'm trying to, do one for the hobby or anything, but I do like the public auction of it and that being a public sale and it getting posted and people can work off that number whenever they're trying to get certain cards or whatever it is too, right? Now whether the legitimacy of an auction or whatever is another topic in question, but at least it happened in a public arena for everyone to see, right? um, but mainly, yeah, selling cards privately, and I do it, but not as, you know um, it's mainly just for fear that I'd want to keep it, and then I'm just like back to square one again. Well, I got to fund
Yeah.
this thing, So, like, what are you going to do, Andy? Right? So, yeah,
I wanted to ask you about this because I heard that you love it when people post cards and talk about how much conviction they
Oh
have
yeah.
for this card and how much they believe in the card, right? They just believe so hard in this
God.
card.
Yeah.
You
I've
like
been
that,
seeing
right? I mean, that was that was good.
I absolutely love it. It's like my favorite two words right now. Yeah, there seems to be that like I've been seeing it more and more. It's just like, oh, I bought this card because I have so much conviction in the card or the player or the set or whatever it is. And to me, when you say a word like that, right, I believe in this. And it's come to me, it feels like it's not coming from an appreciation of what it is, right? This beautiful card you just purchased from this rare set or whatever it is, it feels like it's the conviction is on price and future price and it's
Mm,
going to rise in the future and stuff, right? That's the conviction of the card, right? So I feel like it's coming from that mindset versus just like the general appreciation for what you just own now, right?
yeah,
So I just kind of, I don't know, I've been seeing it more and more. Have you been seeing that like out there,
yeah, yeah. I think part of it, there's a couple of things. Like one is the people I think say it sometimes to get other people to chime in to say, "Yeah, you made the right move." Maybe because they don't actually have conviction. They want people to reaffirm that
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
doing the right thing, or or it is like, yeah, I look at it as coded language for, oh, this is a good investment, for me.
Yeah.
um, because I mean, like, I don't necessarily need to believe in a card. Just like, I don't know. I mean, I can't think of what that means, like, other than that I believe that this is going to go up in value. And
Exactly.
I can understand at some point, like at some threshold of money, where you're like putting a ton of money into one card, and that's a lot for you. Like, I get that you want to be somewhat certain that it's not going to tank to zero, right? Like, I can understand that. But if that's the first thing you're saying about it, is like, I believe in this. There's also that element of kind of like pumping, right? Which is like, I know what I'm doing. I believe in this. I have conviction. Hey, maybe you should think about this player or this set too, so that my card can go up in value when you buy yours. Um,
Totally.
but I don't know, man. People are,
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, like, look, I mean, I get it. This is a business and it's a hobby, and all that wrapped up into one. It's just it's hard to see. The toughest part is when you see. I hate the word even collector. Everyone's collector. Even the flipper is a collector in some regard,
mm-hmm,
some way. He is right. Whether I'm not a big fan of even that word in general. I think it has weird connotations and people use it for certain ways to spin and whatnot. But when you see guys who have these amazing collections, especially like of '90s cards and stuff like that, and they're always kind of talking about why this one is better than this one, or why this one will stand the test of time in terms of its value, and they'll show the stock market chart from Card Ladder or whatever it is on a constant basis. So sometimes I worry that those collectors could be the most dangerous ones, right? The ones that really push you to believe in, because they do have these beautiful cards that we all would want, these red PMGs, these essential credentials, these super rare ones, right? But the narrative behind it seems to be, there's definitely a purpose to it, right? And there's always the purpose
mm-hmm.
of somehow the value of this card, this price and monetary value of this card will be more in the future, right? And like, it's because we admire some of those collectors and their collections a lot, right? And especially if you're getting into it for the first time or whatever it is, right? You they're shaping minds of that, and
Mm-hmm.
to me that could be dangerous too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like a card charlatan. It's a false prophet, basically, right?
yeah,
He's trying to bring all these people to his card cults to have them believe in this. I don't know, you know, 2006 platinum medallion that he stumbled upon. And like, this is the
yeah,
next big set. You should do
uh-huh.
it. All right. Well, we've rambled for a bit here. got any other thoughts? Anything we need to leave these people with before we get out of here?
What do you think? What do you think Brian's doing right now?
He's probably watching the Browns and Steelers game.
Is there a serious reason? What's the serious? Is there a serious reason why he's out? If so, then just nod your head. But
He
like,
didn't even give me one. He just said, I
that's
can't do
interesting.
it this
I
week.
don't know what's going
So
on
I
there.
think he's just probably taking some time off. He's prepping his Thanksgiving list.
But yeah, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're already there already. But no, I think in general, I think we talked about a lot of stuff here. I'm in a good space with my collection. There's some amazingness on the horizon for me, for you. Um, what gets scary is if one of the main, there's only a handful of cards that I would probably have to do another massive sort of consolidation for. And I think that if that opportunity sort of came up, that would really drastically change like my collection, right? I think with this one that I'm doing now, I definitely had a lot more. I had ammo in the tank to do it, right? And I still have ammo moving forward, but it's going to take another massive sort of haircut this time around, right? Because pretty much the Griffies are gone. I'm not selling the 99 rubies, but like like I look at Jeter or something like that, and I don't know what's his place in the collection if something that I really really need comes up, but like overall I'm in a good place. I'm not anxious. I'm comfortable in the space. I love my collection. Just finding enjoyment, man.
That's words of wisdom right there. Well, if you don't, some reason, follow Andy on Instagram, don't bother. I mean, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
So,
seriously, you're
no,
fixing yourself.
yeah. Bye, baby cards. Andy, thanks for jumping on with me, and we'll have you as an official guest at some point in the future. Maybe once you make a sizable acquisition of some sort.
Yeah, one of these days.
One of these days. All right, man.
Maybe
Thanks.
my
See ya.
maybe my James Worthy PMG suit card or something like that, right?
Yeah. With the tie, his first superfractor in a
First
funeral
Armani, their
suit.
first Armani.
First Armani. Yeah, I think he had a. Yeah, that's right. Yep. He had some. He had an Alfani suit. Those Macy's brand line. But this is the
That's
first
right.
Armani one. So, all right, man. We'll see you soon.
All right, dude. Talk to you.
See ya.